They are very much scientifically based because of the criteria that were derived, which of course is scientifically based, and the standards that were derived from those criteria. So it has very solid foundation with respect to scientific basis. That was the first phase. That was the foundation of our management strategies as far as rivers are concerned. Subsequent phases, in terms of the studies that I mentioned earlier on, simply adopt or apply those standards and those classifications into various rivers. So we will not go into this in any great detail. But the phase 3 study, which commenced in 1993, is very interesting. What it did was simply to go beyond looking at concentrations in the effluents, for which engineers are very particular about. They're particular about that because, of course, it relates directly to the treatment system. So they will look at the concentration as the final proof, yeah, if you like, that the treatment system works. Because that is the yardstick that DOE uses. The DOE will take a grab sample, will bring it to Jabatan Kimia down the road, and then they would say, okay, either you meet the standards or you don't meet the standards. If you don't meet the standards, then you are in trouble. So finally, it is concentrations that become the yardstick. What these studies did, and please take note of the year, this is 1993, they said this is not sufficient. Yeah, this is not sufficient. Essentially, it brought into alignment with global practices in terms of looking at loading, in terms of looking at specific rivers and whether those rivers are able to assimilate the effluent. So such approaches are certainly a lot more meaningful. I present you a scenario where you have a particular river segment with many factories. Yeah? If all those factories meet standards, does it necessarily mean that the river is clean? The quick answer to that is no. Because that particular stretch may not have the assimilative capacity to receive those standards, even though they meet the standards. To receive those, even though the standards. So therein lies the limitation of a concentration-based effluent discharge in terms of river management. Something that until today have not been addressed. Yeah? But I believe the DOE is very concerned about these limitations, and I'm quite confident that in the not too distant future they'll do something about it. Oh, by the way, those discharge standards, what we call Standard A and Standard B, I believe all of you are very familiar with that. They are actually derived not with respect to the receiving water body, but rather